Get the fuck up and go to work. Go and drive, go grind. A lot of these young men, they're all coddled.
Yes.
They fail. Oh, don't worry, honey, I still have your bedroom. I was out of my house at 18 and that was it. My bedroom became an art studio for my mother, So there's nowhere for you to sleep. There's no couch for you to sleep on. You either got to go put a roof over your head or live on the damn street. And the problem is everybody is, these kids are, just coddled. For me, it's a mentality of one, whether it's one additional call or if you're working out and you're doing 10 reps, it's one more rep.
Yes.
And it's that benefit that you get from that rep that you can barely push up. Okay, whether you're doing a push-up or you're doing flat bench or fly, whatever you're doing, it's that one additional rep where that essence of pain comes, and the pain is what makes you grow.
Welcome to another episode of the Kava podcast. I have a very special guest. He is a very successful entrepreneur in the real estate industry. Over the years, his approach to real estate has evolved from acquiring single assets to owning and managing over thousands of units. With the scale of operations has expanded, the core activities of finding, analyzing, and financing properties have remained constant. He emphasizes the importance of straightforward transactions and the right fit for each investment, simplifying the process to maximize profitability. One pivotal moment in his career was the acquisition of a 183-unit property that nearly fell through financial shortfall. By negotiating directly with the seller to cover the gap temporarily, he was able to secure and later sell the property for a nearly $3 million profit, making a turning point in his life and career. His resilience is evident. Despite challenges like incarceration and homelessness, he's rebuilt a successful career, sharing his experiences to empower others in real estate, supported by his faith and family. I am very honored to have you. Mark, welcome to the Kava podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Every day is a blessing, every moment.
What are the misconceptions of making money, or what do most people get wrong about making money?
That's a super in-depth question.
Yeah.
And super in-depth answer. But let's try to keep things very simple and and I will tell you that when you look at the level of success that anyone achieves, it's all driven by their internal drive. And you can't force somebody to go after something. You can't force somebody to have that internal drive to succeed, or that push, or that ability to grind. But what you can do is you can point out some of the small and obvious things that had helped you to become successful. So a routine is a very successful aspect to my daily routine. I get up every day at 4:30. It doesn't matter where I am. It doesn't matter whether I had 3 hours of sleep or I had 8 hours of sleep. It pushes me to know that if I don't do that, for some reason, I think I have failed myself, my true self. And when you think about all these people that are super duper duper successful, they have all been able to create a routine. They've all come to the edge of failure or have failed. The ones that have failed, like I believe Henry Ford might have filed for bankruptcy twice.
Yes.
There are many super successful entrepreneurs that were right on the edge, like Elon Musk.
Yes.
He was down to, I think, his last rocket. His ability to shoot his last rocket. If he didn't land it, he was going to fail, and that would have been it. Everything he made prior to that, he would have lost it all in SpaceX. But the one simple thing is you don't work for the money. Money comes. You don't work to say, I'm going to have this kind of car or I'm going to have this kind of house. What you're working to change what you're doing and how you're doing it in a fashion that gives you a level of satisfaction, and that level of satisfaction will eventually, the money will come. So I always say, for me, money isn't what's important. It's what it gives you the ability to have time, additional time. And time is something that they don't print every day, and money is something that they do print every day. So, and it's very hard to buy time. Having the ability of being successful, it gives you the ability to do things that are less encumbersome, like fly a private plane or do certain things. So that's the only benefit. I fly commercial. I like American Airlines. That's my mentality. Can't get out of it. But too many people put the accoutrements of what they think is going to make them happy in front of what they're doing and trying to change. So taking somebody that's starting out, I always tell them, look, you don't need to go out to dinner 3 nights a week or 4 nights a week. You need to go out to dinner when it's a special occasion. What you need to do is you need to learn how to save as much as your disposable income and take that and put that into, if you're starting a business, into your business. If you're becoming a real estate investor, into the real estate that you're buying. If you're going into the stock market or commodities or all these different spots, NFTs, Bitcoins, and stuff like that, then what you need to do is you need to live as small as possible so that you can get yourself to a place where you have that financial independence. I don't know if that answered your question, but anybody can achieve anything in this country. All they have to do is set their mind to it.
Yeah.
It's all right in front of them.
Yeah, what you said that that really hit home for me is you said that it's about structuring a routine, and that's something that I'm very big on, because I remember when I was younger, I used to see people who were very successful, and I got some advice from somebody, one of my mentors, but he always said that if you want to achieve success and whatever outcome that you want in your life, just find somebody who's already doing it and just imitate their behavior and their lifestyle and their routine, and you're going to have the same level of success if you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
It's impossible for me to be financially successful. And I always tell them, just evaluate your lifestyle and your routine. And if you're honest with yourself, you can see some of the things that's unproductive. And people who are very successful, they're just productive. That's all. That's the difference. They're very driven, they're very focused. And you mentioned it before, they have an eternal motivation to be successful. It's not necessarily about money. Money is just a byproduct, right?
Truly.
The byproduct of it comes when you do the work. How did you develop that routine for yourself?
So I think I know that playing sports
Yeah.
was that for me.
Okay.
And I'm not a big guy, but I actually was a high school and a college tailback. And you have to be structured. You have to be rigid. When you're in college, you've got a lot to do. You've got to go to class. You've got to study, and then you've got practice. And prior to practice, you have meetings, and then after practice, you've got treatment or whatever you're doing. You have group meetings, and then you've got to study. And so it's all about drive. And if you really truly want to achieve anything is achievable. It's all right in front of your face. The problem is everybody wants everything now.
Yes.
And the credit card companies and these high-ticket auto loan companies, and quite frankly, the great financial crisis in 2008 was because everybody wanted to have a home. And I don't think it was the administration during that period of time that was pushing that. It was before President Obama's administration. And thank God for him, because if he didn't bail out the banks, it's all over. It's a different history for us. But those were also some pretty amazing times where you could really gain a tremendous amount of traction with a very small amount of understanding and capital. Today, the same concepts, same things work today.
Yeah.
You just have to go out and work them. And people, if they run into a dead end, they get scared. If they run into a wall and they don't know how to structure something. There are so many ways to figure things out, especially with a piece of real property, like a piece of real estate.
Yes.
As long as the buyer, the new investor, or the sophisticated investor is educated into what they're doing, they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that comes with drive. And I don't remember who wrote this book, but somebody gave me this book, and it's about a healthy mindset, but it was also about a healthy diet set. It was called Own the Day.
Mm.
And the basic premise was that when you open up your eyes, get out of bed.
Yeah.
Don't fall back asleep. Get out of bed and take the day on and crush it.
I don't know if you've heard of Gary Vee.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was talking about how simple it is to be successful. It's just mastery, right? Mastering the skill that you need in order to be successful. But he was talking about, the analogy he was using, there's no 10 ways to do a push-up. There's only one way to do a push-up. You do the push-up, and you do it consistently until you get stronger. You can do more push-ups. And that's just pretty much success. Just, you have to master the skill. We all complicate some things sometimes, but the same skills that we know today of success is the same thing that people have been using in the same industry for throughout history. We tend to avoid the work. And that's why I think sometimes we live in the generation of, you mentioned it already, instant gratification. People want to be successful so fast that they're trying to find so many different ways to be successful. You can't escape the hard work. There is no shortcuts.
It's funny that you say that, because I got a direct message from a young man on Instagram. And the young man on Instagram had 2 vending machines. He's a 17-year-old kid in high school, and he's in New Jersey. So, he DM'd me, and my guys tell me, don't do this, but I give my cell phone. Okay. Because I'm just inspired by him.
Yeah.
Calls me up, and he said, look, I want to do my 3rd location, but I want to change it. He goes, I want to do a location not where I am, and I want to do an ice location. And he's like, I made enough money from the 2 vending machines that I can buy one of these ice vending machines. And I was like, they have those things? And he's like, yeah. And so he sent me the model. I looked at it. I said, this is incredible. You have electricity and water.
Yeah.
And you rent for your space, and you have to buy the unit. So this has gone on, 2, 3, 4. He's in his 5th week. Okay. He opened up his location 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And he has to go back there 3 times, every 3 days. He goes back there to take the money out and service the machine. And that's how busy it is. And he did it. He didn't do it. I said, go to Texas. He said, well, it's a little far for me. So he did it in the Jersey Shore. Okay. And I said, well, it's going to be seasonal. He's like, okay. But we did the model, and it works if he has 3 big months, so for 90 days. And that should work for him through the end of Labor Day. And I'm just baffled. He's a kid. Yeah. He's in high school. Yeah. Okay. Going to go on to college. There's a kid in the community who got a full ride to Oklahoma as a soccer player, and he got a secondary scholarship as a computer programmer, computer science. Yeah. And there were 3 properties that were on his family's piece of land in Oklahoma, and he wanted to fix them up. So he gets on the phone with me. What should I do? He sent me pictures, videos. I'm like, do X, Y, and Z. He has 3 properties now, making him $4,200 a month. Wow. And his kid getting ready to go to college. So if he can do it, why can't the engineer or the dentist or the guy that's working at UPS, that's been around, can't do it?
Yeah.
that you should be able to do it.
There's a study by Fidelity Investments. 88% of all millionaires are self-made. They did not inherit their wealth. I remember I heard this from a mentor of mine a long time ago when I was in the sales industry. Making money is easy once you learn how to do it. I did see a video that you made, Mark. Having money doesn't make you smarter than everybody else. So my simple question when I ask you, do you need to be smart in order to make money?
Not at all. Not at all. You need to be disciplined. You need to be driven, and you need to be able to push through any kind of obstacles that come in front of you. And I don't think being smart is an equation with being successful. I don't think being smart is the math equation with making money. Because there's the guy that started out with a hot dog stand. Okay. And he saw an opening in the market. So he opened up a hot dog stand across from the Bronx Zoo. And that hot dog stand was across from this little bar. And he knew that when the bar closed, because it didn't have any food, that people were hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So he made his stand. And when people were coming from the zoo, they would buy hot dogs from him. And then they came, and I want to say he started when he was 14. He wrote a book, and it's called On a Roll, the name of the book. And his name is Howard Jonas. And when the bar emptied out, he would sell out. And he took that money and parlayed it into, I mean, he's he went to college, very smart guy. But he took that money and he parlayed it into another business, and then into another business. And eventually those businesses generated him millions and then generated him billions. And, he's same guy wearing jeans and sneakers and a regular button-down blue shirt every day. He doesn't fly private. He's just and I think his biggest goal is to make a difference in other people's lives anonymously. And there are so many people like that you're never going to come in contact with them. It may be the guy, getting gas at the mobile station next to you. You just don't know. You don't have to have, this. I always give this guy a hard time. You don't have to have the orange Bugatti and tell everybody that they're this is only my third podcast, and now I have like 7, over the next 2 weeks. But can I swear? Because everything. Of course,
yeah. My podcast, Unfiltered.
Everything out of his mouth is a swear word.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay? And he is abusive to people, and he tells them that you're a loser if you're not doing what he's telling you to do. And he's always, you're a stupid motherfucker. Get them out of my face. You can figure out who I'm talking about.
I have an idea.
And I did a video to point out he was on a panel that the people on the panel were absolutely disgusted listening to him talk, because you should have seen their expression. And he didn't even make any sense in the video, because nothing he said made any sense. There was no linear reasoning behind it. He just was shooting off to brag.
Yeah,
that's what the guy does. And he sent me a message that I needed to build my street cred by speaking about him, and I'm like, I don't need to build my street cred from anybody. I could care less. So, but I don't know. I got off on a tangent. That's what happens when you're 64. You forget a lot of stuff. So
yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why do you need street cred in order to be?
You don't need any street cred.
I don't think you need to be smart. I do believe it's about being competent, the ability to acquire skills, knowledge, and experience. Before I did podcasting, I used to work. I was a regional sales manager. I used to teach people how to make sales. We did door-to-door businesses, and I used to teach a lot of people. I probably trained over 1,000 people, and I would say there was a lot of people I trained that I had to question their intelligence, but I was able to teach them a specific skill, how to talk to people, a specific pitch process, and they would still be able to make money and make $1,000 a week. You don't need to necessarily be smart. I think it's more about just be competent. Can you be able to learn a specific skill? Can you acquire knowledge? Can you go out there and practice it and gain some experience? And if you can master that, if you can dedicate yourself to that, regardless of what it is, you are able to make money. You are able to make money.
Think about it. There are guys out there that are on super duper high levels. Okay. Yeah. A guy that I give a hard time to, Grant Cardone. Okay.
Yeah.
He was a car salesman.
Yeah.
And he actually, I don't know that all the economics behind his business, but I know some of the real estate he owns is some really classic Class A deals. Very nice assets. I know that he is great at selling. I don't really know much about his internal organization, but he's a great salesman. There's another guy that was a car salesman. I believe Andy Elliott was a car salesman. And the guy's he's great at selling. Who's the guy that has long hair and he always wears a nose strip?
Oh, Alex Ramosi.
Another guy that's amazing. Okay. And what they do is, I don't know them, so I don't know how bright they are. But what they do is they make things understandable and simple.
Yeah.
And if you don't even need to buy their course, you could just watch their stuff online. Yeah. It's going to make you better at what you do. I'm sure people do buy their courses, and I'm sure they're great. Their courses are great, but just some of the short clips that they have where they talk, like Andy Elliott talks about when he was in the car industry, about creating a value proposition, and that makes a lot of sense. And there's guys that aren't on social media that are great at sales.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Okay. And some of the smartest guys that I know that are great and successful, and there's a few guys in the real estate space that aren't super duper bright guys, but they're great salesmen.
Yeah.
So, it's real estate. It's like money. It's fungible. Doesn't know where it comes from. Doesn't know where it goes. So when you find a deal and you've taken the deal apart and you figured out how to put it back together, and whoever owned it before, they didn't see something that you saw. Yeah. That may set you apart and make you smarter. So, I don't think it makes you this, Albert Einstein or, one of these guys. Yeah. But when you go back to the essence of all these sales guys, you go back to who was the original guy? Was it Dale Carnegie? How to influence people, and what's the name of the book?
I think how to influence people, I believe.
Yeah, and he was that guy. He was before Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, Zig Ziglar.
And you had Zig Ziglar, and then you had all these salespeople that came along and said it's a process, and then you go through this process, and you're going to dial the phone 1,000 times a day, and it's that mentality, and for me it's a mentality of one. Whether it's one additional call, or if you're working out and you're doing 10 reps, it's one more rep.
Yes.
And it's that benefit that you get from that rep that you can barely push up. Okay, whether you're doing a push-up or you're doing flat bench or fly, whatever you're doing, it's that one additional rep where that essence of pain comes, and the pain is what makes you grow. So when you listen to a guy who's one of my favorite guys to listen to, I probably listen to his same 4 or 5 podcasts or speeches every day. I listen to one of them. and it's Eric Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
And Eric Thomas, says, I don't want you to give 80%. I don't want you to give 90%. I don't want you to give 110. I want 120 or 150. And he's a beast. And he was homeless. He was eating,
Yes, I know his story.
He was eating out of a trash can. Okay. And I mean, the guy's incredible. The guy just makes me want to do better.
Yeah. When you want to be successful as much as you want to breathe. That hit home for me. That really hit me. I was like, man, that's when I heard that a long time ago, and it forced me to reevaluate my life and be honest. Like, I am not really doing everything I can to be successful, because if I want as much as I want to breathe, then I'll do it. So, and shout out to Eric Thomas. But
I'm gonna tell you a stupid story. So they did away with it. I work out at Crunch. I don't know if you have them in San Francisco.
Yeah, the Crunch. Yep.
All right. So I've been working out at this Crunch forever, and I love going there. And they got rid of the spinning classes because I love spinning. So they have these 3 bikes. They're like Pelotons, and you can get on them. So I'm on this bike, and it was, instead of doing rowing to warm up before I train, so I was doing 20 minutes, and I was getting into it, and I was listening to Eric Thomas, and he starts screaming, I am! And he starts, with the, I am screaming. So I don't know what happened to me, but my brain, like, all right, I'm by myself, right? I got my earbuds in, and I'm screaming. One of the guys came up to me and said, you okay? I said, was I just screaming? He goes, you were. I said, sorry, I hope I didn't. He goes, no, what were you listening to? And I took it and I showed it to him. I said, on Spotify, Eric Thomas. I said, you got to get this guy. So I don't know, maybe it makes him better. Who knows?
There's just something about his passion when you hear it. You want to move. You want to do something. You cannot sit still. And that's how authentic his message is. You can just feel the realness and authenticity. There's a lot of people who look smart online that give real estate advice, but in reality, they're fake gurus. You made a lot of reaction videos about fake gurus. For people out there trying to gain some good advice and content and knowledge about real estate, how can you identify somebody that's a fake guru in the real estate industry based on what you've seen so far on social media?
So, another great question. There are guys on social media that give some good information. Okay. And there are some guys that are, in Yiddish, we call them ganefs, which means a thief, a crook. Okay. And that's what motivated me. When I saw there was a guy down here in Florida, he has a Section 8 course, and he charges between $50,000 and $100,000 to show you how to buy 5 Section 8 properties with your own money and your own financing. And the value proposition is the cost of a turkey sandwich. I mean, it's disgusting. And he's also a buddy with the guy with the orange Bugatti, which, if anybody that would spend that kind of money on a car is definitely missing something. Maybe their father didn't tell them he loved them that much. I don't know. I was blessed with a great mother and a great father. But there are some guys out there that are not good, and there are some guys out there that are really, really good. And there's a guy, I think he's in Fort Lauderdale. He goes by the name of Tom Cruise, not the actor, who's my hero. Pretty amazing. He still does stunts.
Love his movies.
I want to say the guy's probably 60 or something like that.
Yeah.
But this guy's name is Tom Cruise, and he actually does teach well. He's not inexpensive, but he does really teach people really, really well. There is my friend Daniel G. He does not charge a lot for his sales training, but it's all common sense. All of his sales training is common sense. And, he's very good at it, and he helps people get out of their own way. Half the problem is getting out of your own way to do it. I mean, you want to learn real estate? Go out and buy a real estate book. I mean, I always tell guys that I talk with, buy Robert Allen. Robert G. Allen's book, Nothing Down. The concepts still work today. Just go and read it, or get it on Audible. It works. And what people don't want to do is they're just afraid to try. So what if you fail 50 times? Okay? What if you fail 50 times and then that 51st time you succeed? I believe the light bulb was invented on the 1001st try or something.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
So had Thomas Edison not, right? Was Thomas Edison?
Yeah, Thomas Edison. I think it was like 10,000 times he took him to.
Had he not kept on trying, then we'd be still burning candles, or
Yeah.
Of course not. Someone would have figured it out, but
Yeah.
it's sad that people, they give up on their dreams, and their dream is right there. It's just right there when they've had that failure. It's right in front of them, and they have to just pick themselves up and get going. So the mere act of falling, when you fall on your face, you're still falling forward. You're still moving forward, even though you fell on your face. So you've progressed. Get up. Come on.
Yeah.
If you don't have that internal drive to get up for the people that you love, do it for yourself. Yes. Do it for someone that you haven't met, because you're going to change their life if you succeed. And stop. I hate this. Everybody always, I need it today. Everybody is always frustrated with what they don't have.
Yeah.
Stop thinking like that. Go out and get what you want. Go out and take it. Go out and make it happen. That's my frustration.
Yeah.
So these fake gurus, there are more fake gurus than there are actually real guys.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, some stupid kid, I guess I'm going to do a podcast with him now. He said you could open up an LLC on Tuesday, and on Wednesday you could take a $50,000 credit card without any income.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen that. I saw that. Yeah.
And you and I both know that's just an absolute farce. It doesn't make any sense. And even these guys that sell these mature LLCs, they're all worthless. They're not. You're not borrowing against the LLC. They're still going to underwrite your own personal credit.
Mm-hmm.
American Express doesn't say, "Oh, you have a great company. I'm going to send you a card on your company." They're going to say, "Well, what's your Dun & Bradstreet look like? What's your sales revenue? And what's your credit?"
Yeah, because the banks still need to make money. Why would they give you $50,000 if you have no credit?
They don't.
Yeah, that's why it's a farce. That's why it doesn't make sense.
But there's a lot of guys like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And what they're doing is they're taking advantage of people who have such a strong desire to become financially independent. And here's this word: generational wealth.
Yeah.
I want generational wealth. Okay. I mean, come on. These are all these buzzwords.
Yes.
Somebody should go have a chat with some of these guys that are full of crap.
Yeah. I would love to see, I don't know if it's ever going to happen, Mark. I would love to see you do a podcast with those self-proclaimed gurus that you just mentioned and just have a direct face-to-face conversation if they're willing to do it. Would you be open to do it if they reached out?
Some of them have.
Yeah.
This whole thing, I can't even begin to tell you some of the celebrities that have reached out to me. I don't even know who they are. And then my guys, because they're all the guys that are working with me are 20, 21, 22, 23. They're all young kids. And they're like, oh, this guy's a big rapper. And this one's a TV personality. I'm like, where? I mean, I know who Al Pacino is and Robert De Niro, but I don't know who these guys are. And I'm like, okay, if they want to, talk, we can talk with them. And it's just crazy.
Yeah. I want to kind of transition into your background a little bit, how you came into real estate. One of the things, I have a podcast on Thursdays where we focus on male masculinity to kind of help young men figure out their life and purpose in life. But one of the things I've seen, especially in the younger generation, there is a lack of purpose for a lot of young men. It's hard for them to find their purpose in life, what they want to do. How did you figure out, was this real estate something that you just generally were into already at a very young age? Or is that something that you, through trial and error, just trying to growing up and figuring out your life as a young man, and you just came into something that works for you? How did you get into real estate? What's your perspective for a lot of young men out there that, they lack a lot of purpose in it, especially in today's younger generation?
So I'll answer that first and then how I got into real estate. So, I think a lot of these younger men, they were coddled, back in, back in the olden days when I grew up, kids were nice to each other. I see they're not so nice to each other today. They bully each other. They do it online. They do it in person. It's very, it's impersonal. It's cowardly. Back in the olden days, the older kids took care of the younger kids, and we were never inside. We were outside all the time playing. And, when it was time for dinner, if our mother or we didn't have, dinner being prepared, we'd go to somebody else's house. And people were just genuinely kind and nice to each other. When somebody had an issue with their family or death or somebody had a sickness, people in the neighborhood would, make food and bring it over. My dad, who was I come from a family of dentists. So my father, who was a small-time dentist, stand-up dentist back in those days, if you couldn't pay him, it didn't matter. He just still took care of you, and you figured out, whether you gave him eggs or milk or fixed his roof. It didn't really matter. So, it's just, we've gotten away from this basic, sense of community because of the internet, because of these crazy computers we carry around in our hand. And everything is so immediate and so disposable. You want to eat, you go on, you get your food delivered. People don't want to wait. Back in the old day, you went to a restaurant, you sat down, you ordered a pizza. Everything is now, drive through this, drive through that. Now they have coffee places. They don't even go inside anymore. That's the new big thing.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I wish we would get back to the basics. I wish we would get back to being, better to one another, kinder to one another, treating one another with more dignity and respect. And, simple things, holding the door, saying good morning, smiling at a person, instead of walking with your face in your phone.
Yeah.
But the reason I got into the business was I always knew I wanted to be in the real estate business. My father's father and my mother were in the business. My mother was actually the commercial broker who sold me my first deal. And the only real job that I ever had was working in banking. And my mother was helpful in that. And, once I understood how to underwrite and how to find the money and then how to find the actual assets where banks took them back, I was able to grow a portfolio and grow a business as an entrepreneur. And so I grew up in a community where there was a lot of real estate developers and they were very successful.
Yeah.
And it's like I think Will Rogers said, land, they're not making any more of it. And it's real estate. You don't wait to buy it. You buy it and wait because it's going to go up in value. We're going to have inflation. You just have to attend to it and take care of it. It will take care of you.
Yeah.
All right. So.
I saw this one post by Alex Hermosi. He was talking about, if you're a young man from 18 to 29, you have the luxury of time. So that's the best time for you to go out there and really dedicate yourself and really push yourself to work hard to gain as much skills as you can. 1829, what's the thing they should go out and pursue?
So just got asked that question, and the question was, should I just started my business, and it actually was a young man that I know, and he said, should I be dating at this point? And I believe he's 26.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, absolutely not. And he's like, why? I said, is she hot? And he said, yes. I said, absolutely not. I said, you can have a friend, but you want to grow your business, and you're talking to me about you're growing your business all the time. So what you need to do is you need to focus on that. But it's okay to have a friend. It's okay to have a relationship with somebody, but you cannot be spending your time with that person. You can't be spending your time. You need to spend your time on your business 150% of the time.
Mm.
And the guy has a real niche in the coding space, and he's very good at it. And he's organically growing. And I said, look, just keep growing. I said, maybe in 24, 36 months. And if this girl's the right girl, she'll be there.
Yes. I don't believe in chasing women. I do believe in attracting. So don't chase women. Don't waste your time chasing women. Focus what you need to do. And like you said, naturally, you're going to attract a good woman into your life. And if you can vet her out and she's a good woman, then you go with that woman. But you shouldn't spend days or weekends or time and resources trying to go out there and chase women. It's just a waste of time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. 100%.
This is something I saw that you were reacting to a video from Grant Cardone.
Mm-hmm.
He said that buying a house is the worst investment you will ever make in your life. And contrarily, you said that buying a house is the single greatest purchase in your life. Can you expand why you disagree with that, with Grant?
Sure. I think Grant uses that as a ploy to get people to invest in his funds. Mm-hmm. And, the largest single purchase anyone's going to make in their lifetime is buying a home.
Yes.
Unless you're in the real estate space. And that home, forget the fact that it's going to appreciate, depending on where it is, because it could depreciate, in some of these tougher markets. But even markets like St. Louis, Missouri, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Memphis, and Jacksonville, and, all over Ohio, where the markets have been beat up, Detroit, those houses are still appreciating. Maybe they're appreciating at single-digit numbers, but they're still appreciating. And having a home, having a family, having children, having memories, and at the same time, you're building equity and you're paying down your debt is, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, is the single greatest thing that you can do. Because forget the fact that it's going to be a financially successful transaction for you. Think about all the memories that you make in your home. Think about your home. Think about growing up. Think about what it was like. Okay.
True.
Think about sitting around, and having dinner with your family, or Thanksgiving. These are just things that you can't change. This is the single greatest benefit that you can have by living in this country and every other country. Why are they building homes in every other country? Why is there a shortage of housing everywhere? Because people all want to own a home. Now, Grant, maybe Grant is trying to steer you into taking the equity that you'd buy in a home and put it into one of his deals, or become a renter in one of his deals and put your money into one of his deals. I don't know what his personal, thoughts on that. But I can only come up with my summary of what I think he's trying to do. What did we build this country on? This country is built, it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of immigrants that came to this country and built this country, built buildings, bridges, dams, all these highways, all these people. And, we changed the way this country is. And at the end of the day, we went home and we sat with our family.
That's absolutely true.
And we built a unit, and then we built a neighborhood, and we created all these things together.
Before I was born, my parents were working multiple jobs and they were jumping from apartment to apartment. But by the time they I was born, they finally bought a house. But I remember growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had food, we had a roof over our head, we had great memories. And I did have a lot of friends who didn't even have a house to go to, a home to go to. And I remember the difference in their life. And I'm looking back at it now, just because they had the instability regarding their home, I saw them make a lot of bad choices in their life that led them to unfortunate outcomes in their life. But luckily for me, at least I still had a place to go home to. And you just remind me of that. And that was actually very powerful. I think it's important to buy a house, not only for the asset, but the memories you're going to create for building a foundation for your family. That's something that we're forgetting today in America.
Everything's built on family.
Yes.
Why are so many people? Why are sports teams so successful? Because the individuals on the team, they play as a family. When forget soccer, football,
Yeah.
American football. Okay, you have 11 players. Every player is doing something, but when you come together, okay, you're one unit. Okay, and they're a family. And what's been lost is with this mentality that I can succeed without. I don't need this. I don't need that. You still need a family. You still
True.
need someone to support you. You still need someone to say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry that you didn't make it, but you're going to make it the next time. Or why was Reggie Jackson such a successful home run hitter? Because he struck out a lot of times. Because he got up and he took a swing. If you don't swing and if you don't have family around you to support you, you're not going to be pushed. You're not going to be driven. No.
And also, I think also for men, especially as we grow up, I think family is something that gives us purpose in life. And I believe as a society, we don't focus, we don't base our society. Unfortunately, what I see, there's a moral decay. There is a lack of focus on family based on what I've seen so far. Hopefully, people can get back to it. But yeah, there are sometimes what I see online for a lot of guys who don't have purpose, motivation to do anything productive. There's no motivation for them to start a family. And I think that's a great idea for guys. Hey, look, go strive to go buy a house. That will incentivize you to start a family and give you some purpose every single day, to get up every single morning and do what you have to do. There was an article, and I would love to hear your feedback because you're in the real estate industry. There are a lot of millennials. The article said it is very difficult now for millennials and Gen Z to buy a house compared to our parents. In 1972, the median income was about $9,697. The median home was $29,000. The house was 3 times the amount of their income. In 2022, the average median income is $74,000, and the average median home is $479,000. The price of the house is 6 times the income of the average person. There are many millennials and Gen Zs who are trying to become first-time house buyers, but it's a very difficult market today compared to the amount of cost of the house compared to the income of the average person. What's your thoughts on that?
So you just gave the answer. And the answer is first-time home buyer. And in this country, there are special programs for first-time home buyers under FHA, Federal Housing Authority, Federal Housing Association, under HUD. So FHA will assist somebody who does qualify, but your credit can be lower. And there are programs where the debt to income ratios can be higher to allow you to buy that home with 96.5% financing. If you don't have the money, they will lend you that 3.5% down. So those programs are out there. It's just people are just unfamiliar with them and not being pushed because mortgage brokers just push their conventional programs because they're easier. But there are ways to do it. And, today there's an opportunity, and we are seeing some price adjustments because we're seeing homes stay on the market longer, which forces, pressure into the market, and it slows the sales process. So people have to reduce their pricing. There has been, obviously inflation, but, there's actually going to be some deflation as the inventory goes up because people need to move their product. They need to actually sell their homes. So there are a lot of deals out there. It's just finding them. There are some markets that there are very, very reasonably priced markets below the mean home price. And the average income will definitely qualify in those spaces.
Okay. All right. So it's just a matter of there's some programs out there that most people have no idea about, especially qualifying for it to get a 3% down or 9% down, right?
So under FHA, the maximum allowable, it's a 96.5% financing for the first mortgage. And then you have to put down 3.5%. But if you don't have it, you should be able to borrow it. Now, I had somebody who sent me a comment. They got turned down for the down payment assistance program. I'm not sure what the particulars were, why they got turned down. But, I'd have to look at the totality of what they submitted. But they typically don't turn people down.
Okay. All right.
They typically want to give you the money. They want to put you into the home.
All right. So for the people out there, first-time house buyers, they shouldn't be discouraged by the market. They should just still go out there and try to buy a house for their family.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw you did make a interesting video about dating in Miami. And I do want to talk about relationships. I do have a podcast I do on Saturdays. I'm a big believer in family and men and women coming together. So I like to have conversations that often talked about online so we can figure out solutions. But the first question I want to ask you is, do you believe in marriage?
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you're aware of this because I know you're new to the social media space, but there is something called the red pill space. Have you heard of that before?
No, what does it mean?
It is to keep it simple, the red pill space is a place where men online, where they come and talk about things that men struggle when it comes to the things that we go through as men. But there's a specific space called the red pill space where they have given up on marriage, and they advocate for all men to give up on marriage because what they see today, what they say is because of the modern dating culture, and they see the behavior of women today, they're no longer behaving as wives. It is a big risk for men to get married, not only because of the unfair divorce laws, because of the high divorce rate in America, especially if you're a very affluent man, successful man. They just say based on a mitigation of risk, it is not in your best interest. The risk is just too much for men to date today because women will leave you and they'll abandon you and they'll take your money. That's the message I see, which I don't believe, and I'm against it. But I just want to ask you, there's a lot of young men being influenced by this type of ideology, especially being anti-marriage and going against marriage.
Yeah.
What's your response to that?
That's just all straight up bullshit.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, there's women everywhere, and they want to have a good relationship. They want to have a friend, a partner, somebody that they can go and experience things with, somebody that when they're not having a good day is going to be there to encourage them, and vice versa. I will tell you that I think some of the best places to meet people are at church, in your community. For me, in Miami, you meet women everywhere, and they look at you for what you have. They don't look at you for who you are,
yes,
or what's inside you. And you obviously have to be able to ferret through that very rapidly. But there are some really tremendous, incredible women here that are looking for having a good relationship and having a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. And you're going to find it. You're just going to have to kiss a few frogs, but you will do it. You will achieve it.
On the video you said on TikTok, you said the weak get weaker and the strong get stronger. And you talked about adversity and you also talked about risk tolerance. One of the things I just want to ask you, because my observation for a lot of young men out there, they're very risk adverse. They're afraid of taking risk. And I have to be blunt. Sometimes I think there's a lot of guys out there just soft. And there's a quote that by David Goggins. Do you know who David Goggins is?
Love him.
I love him to death. Probably second to Eric Thomas.
Yep.
But he said something that's very profound and stuck with me. He said that it's so easy to be successful today because most people are mentally weak. So if you have an ounce of mental toughness, you're going to be unbeatable and unstoppable in today, modern society. So for a man to develop into his best self, full potential, and to become a grown man, Mark, is taking risk necessary for every man, young man out there?
Well, that goes back with the very simple metrics of risk reward.
Yeah.
You want to, yeah. Risk is absolutely necessary. And, your ability to handle risk and your ability to handle a failure is going to only make you better. And the problem is that in today's society, a lot of these young men, they're all coddled.
Yes.
They fail. Oh, don't worry, honey. I still have your bedroom. I was out of my house at 18 and that was it. My bedroom became an art studio for my mother, So there's nowhere for you to sleep. There's no couch for you to sleep on. You either got to go put a roof over your head or live on the damn street. And the problem is everybody is, these kids are, just coddled. It's
true.
So, a lot of today's society is soft.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be soft because they do have all the same internal fortitude that we all have. They do have all the same ability. They do have all the same smarts to drive to succeed. Somebody just needs to talk to them and sometimes shake them and wake them up and say, hey, get the fuck up and go to work. Go and drive, go grind. So I don't have a lot to say on that except the fact that you can master anything if you just put your mind to it, if you just focus on it, you just drive, and you will succeed. Problem is, most people are so afraid to fail, they're not afraid to try.
That's true.
They're too afraid to try.
I like that, Mark. Get the fuck up and go out there and make things happen. That's my mentality. Now that's my pushback for we just talked about the red pill. When they talk about marriage is a risk. Now my response to that is life is a risk. That's inevitable. Everything you do is a risk.
It's a risk. Getting a plane, it's a risk.
Exactly. Right. But it's about taking responsibility, accountability for your choices, and mitigate that risk. Now, don't be reckless. Right. We're not saying to be reckless and go out to be irresponsible. But you can't everything you do in life, and also the great things in life when it comes to family, success, purpose, it's always going to be risky. It's always going to be hard. But that's why it makes it so worthwhile, because it's difficult. If it was achievable for everybody, then everybody would do it. So I appreciate that. I think that's a great way to end the podcast for everybody out there. Just go out there and get the fuck up and go do it. And no simple way to explain to accomplish things in life.
So, thank you.
Mark, we've come to the end. Thank you so much for a great interview. Thank you for the opportunity to have a one-on-one with you. I know you're very busy. Any final thoughts for everybody out there watching tonight's podcast and our conversation today?
Yeah. Whatever you think you want to do, you can do it. Whatever you failed at, you got to try again, because you will succeed. And it's just getting up and doing it again. It's just getting up and making it happen. And one simple thing, my father he wasn't always a very big person on showing emotions until he was older. And I will tell you, if you're a father, tell your kids you love them. If you're a child, tell your parents you love them. And just let's try to be a little bit nicer to one another. Let's just try to be a little more empathetic and kind to one another, because, somebody may need your smile. They may be having a bad day, and that smile may change their life, because till you smile, you gotta give it away to smile. You gotta smile and give it away. So it's free. It doesn't cost you anything.
That's true. And I always believe this, always be nice to everybody, because you never know who that person is going to be in the future.
Yep.
So always be nice to be genuine to everybody. But Mark, thank you so much for the time. I know you appreciate for coming on for today's podcast.
Thank you.
Shout out to everybody that watched the entire episode. Reach out to Mark. I'll definitely drop all his socials his information. So if you're looking for real estate advice and experience, go definitely reach out and support his platform and his channel and go reach out to him. Mark, you have a very blessed Sunday.
God bless.